Yoo-hoo, welcome back. I'm Michelle, I'm Canadian, and I live in London. With the 2022 Winter Olympic Games fast approaching, I wanted to take you to Stratford this week, where much of the 2012 London Summer Games were held, to get a sense of London's Olympic legacy. We'll be checking out Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, the home of West Ham United, London Stadium, and we'll top it off with a swim in Olympic waters. Whether you're into the Olympics, football, or scenic views of London, this episode is for you. I should mention that London hosted events at other prestigious venues, including Wimbledon, Wembley, and Horse Guards Parade. But I am not about to traipse around to all corners of London. Yeah, I've been doing that a lot in the last couple of weeks trying to find our new flat. Typically, the Olympics are met with excitement, criticism, and rarely go according to plan. On the one hand, host cities tend to relish in the prospect of getting their name on the map, showing off their unique culture, organizational powers, and athletics to the world. On the other, an event as colossal as the Olympics is unlikely to go off without a hitch. It costs a fortune, and it has lasting infrastructure and societal impacts. Now here's where you come in. I wasn't here for the 2012 London Olympic Games, but maybe you were. What do you remember about the London Games? And how would you describe their legacy? From what I've experienced and read 10 years later, this is what I've gathered. London's 2012 Olympic Games have been described as a steamroller, turning much of Hackney Marshes and surrounding areas into overdeveloped parks, construction zones, and unaffordable housing developments. Despite the downsides, the London Games spotlighted sports that locals may not have considered before. For example, the Lee River Rowing Club is said to have doubled in size since the Games. The Games left behind a template for the development of a community hub that supports education, athletics, recreation, and technological advancement. This is still a work in progress. And Queen Elizabeth Park, quite honestly, is a wonderfully diverse place to spend a sunny day in London. Getting here is pretty easy. A number of public transport and rail lines come directly to Stratford Station, another trace left behind by the Games. Just follow the purple signs to Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. I strongly recommend staying course or risk spending your money in the conveniently located Westfield Stratford City Shopping Mall, which you must walk through. Then make your way through Endeavour Square, a large walkway with new build and past Olympic vibes. With the London Aquatic Centre on your left and the London Stadium just ahead of you in the distance, you start to get a sense that you're somewhere pretty special. Now what's that, you ask? Well, that would be the Arcelormittal Orbit. The Arcelormittal Orbit. Who named this thing? It's a giant slide. It costs over £16 and we're not going. We are headed there, to London Stadium, home of West Ham United Football Club, UK Athletics, and the host of various music and sporting events. This timing is interesting. This is not an ad. I don't particularly like hot dogs. Seeing this incredible venue from the outside just isn't going to cut it for this Canadian. As per usual, I need to be inside where the action happens. I need a sweaty locker room. I want to sit in one of those fancy seats, pitch side. I've booked us a 1 p.m. tour and have severely underestimated the amount of time that it would take for me to walk and find the tour's ticket office. I'd talk to you, but it's really windy, so I'm just gonna carry on in the office. Contrary to the stadium's website, is on the lower level of the stadium store. The tour starts off with a logical and expected question. Oh, are you a West Ham United fan? Which football club do you support? I have been diverting attention away from this question successfully for the past year. I haven't lived here long enough to have a favorite team yet. It was in this moment that I realized someday very soon, I will have lived here long enough that I need to pick a side. Yeah, how long have you lived in London for? Well, after acquiring our handy multimedia packs, the tour takes us through the Royal East Hospitality Club, where Her Majesty the Queen viewed the Games in 2012, and today wealthy people eat, drink, and merrily watch matches from the comfort of plush white foldy chairs. Traces of the Olympic Games can be felt throughout the stadium. Various design elements have been incorporated to honor London's Olympic legacy.
That's it.
Got it. We then descend into the lower levels of the stadium where we enter the red zone. This is where teams enter the stadium and press conferences are held. We have full access to the home team locker room, which is exactly how I pictured it would be. You can see stud mark impressions on the floor where pregame pump-up shenanigans happen. There's a cooler full of fancy drinks. The shower room was a tad chilly. There's even hot and cold therapy pools for all of your recovery needs. May have sabotaged the home team there. Then we walk out onto the 100-meter warm-up track that was used during the Olympic Games and where West Ham United players warm up today. Away teams used to have access to the other half of this track for warm-up until West Ham United decided that's giving them way too much of an advantage. This space also houses an original Olympic Games mascot sculpture. It's kind of a weird one, London. But hands down, my favorite part of this experience is being named team captain and leading our crew through the players' tunnel. For a brief moment, I am a football star. For a brief moment. To top it off, we get to sit in the fancy seats pitch side where another stranger offers to take my photo. Thank you again. We put the imaginary game ball back on its podium, collect our souvenirs from the 2019 MLB London Series game, and carry on with our adventure. Maybe you're not into football. Maybe you enjoy something a little bit slower paced. Not a problem. The Olympic Park is surrounded by canals made up of a series of rivers. You can walk the footpaths and admire the surrounding landscapes, architecture, and garden beds with blooming daffodils. It's winter, no? As per usual, I'm getting carried away and have to hurry back to the London Aquatic Centre for my 3 p.m. swim time. I have spent significant hours of my life in and around swimming pools and have even saved Canadian Olympic swimmers from untimely run-ins with slippery tiles and feisty lane ropes. But even during my lifeguarding days, I have never had the opportunity to swim in a pool used during past Olympic Games. This is an experience that I'll remember. Now, I can't exactly show you around, so here's my proof that I did in fact swim in these Olympic waters. Swim was great. I haven't swam in a 50-meter pool in a long time. I'm super hungry, my arms are tired, and it was awesome. I was in Vancouver for the 2010 Winter Olympic Games. It was a wild ride, and it was certainly one of the best times of my life. Flag-lined streets and the sight of Olympic rings brings with them, for me, a sense of nostalgia that's hard to describe. Being in spaces where athletic greatness has been showcased reminds me that humans are pretty rubbish at a lot of things, but when it comes to uniting over our shared love of sport, we really do excel there. Thank you for joining me for another episode of A Canadian Abroad. I hope I've helped ignite some Olympic spirit in you today, or maybe shown you a part of London you're not super familiar with. Take care of yourselves, get some movement in, it feels great, and I'll see you next week. It's too many syllables. Arcelormittal. Who named this? I want to talk to you. Arcelormittal. I'm sure that word means something. Maybe it's named after the company? Steel manufacturing. Okay, great. That's besides the point.